I'd like to say a brief word about our sponsor, AccountantsWorld. AccountantsWorld is the recognized pioneer in cloud computing solutions for accountants and has been for well over a decade, about 15 years at this point. We like to say that we have been providing cloud computing solutions to accountants for longer than the term cloud computing has existed. And the centerpiece of what we do is what's called the Power Practice System. The Power Practice System is a fully integrated suite of accountant-centric cloud solutions. It's all the things you see on the right-hand side there. And those solutions include everything that you need for virtually everything in your practice except for tax. It handles cloud solutions for bookkeeping, write-up, trial balance, document management, client portals, practice management. There's a website builder, after-the-fact payroll, and more. Then we also offer a solution called Payroll Relief, which is the leading live payroll processing solution for accountants. Whether you're currently offering payroll or not, Payroll Relief can deliver significantly higher profits by automating virtually every step of the entire payroll process. And again, Payroll Relief is also integrated in with the rest of our solutions as well. So by using all of these solutions in concert, the results that thousands of accountants across the country are seeing are better control over their core services, the ability to work much more collaboratively with their clients rather than reactively, and the ability to achieve higher profits in fewer hours. If you'd like to sign up for webinars, go to AccountantsWorld.com, and up under solutions you can go to accounting or payroll and sign up for the webinar related to that product. Brief word about myself. As I mentioned before, I am the Vice President of Marketing at AccountantsWorld. I'm also a former faculty member at the business school at Seattle University, and I've been leading marketing efforts at various technology companies for about 15 years at this point. And what I'm passionate about is helping people who don't come from the world of marketing to understand what marketing can do for their organization. And that's why I'm here today, and that's why I'm hoping that you get a lot out of my presentation and also ask any other questions either during the presentation or email me afterwards as well. So a brief overview of what we're going to be covering in the webinar today. We're going to be talking about why marketing to your existing clients matters more than ever right now. We're going to discuss cost-effective ways to market to your best clients. And we're going to talk about how to encourage word-of-mouth referrals, which in some ways is the gold standard of marketing to existing clients. It's the most high-impact version of retention marketing. A couple of points I want to make here. First of all, this webinar will be pretty high level. Obviously, I don't have many hours to get into this material, and as my colleagues can tell you, I'm happy to talk for hours about marketing, but in the interest of time, I'm going to keep this as high level as possible today. But I'm happy to discuss details as well. So if you have specific detailed questions that you'd like to ask, you can email me afterwards at marketing@accountantsworld.com, and I'll be happy to help out. That's marketing@accountantsworld.com. And feel free to ask questions about anything related to marketing, including during the webinar as well. You can type in on the questions tab, and I'll try to get to as many of them before the hour ends as possible. So I'd actually like to start today's webinar by launching our first poll question. And so I'm going to turn this over to Sharon. Sharon, if you could please do the honors and load the poll question.
I sure will. Thank you, Div. And so what we're looking at here is, compared to our marketing efforts to attract new clients, my firm spends what kind of effort on marketing to existing clients? More effort, the same effort, less effort, or no effort? And as a reminder, participation in all the polls is required for CPE credit, and you will need to click Submit after you select one of those options for it to register and count. And so I'm going to give just a few more seconds here. Get some late stragglers, get those questions in, or their answers in. Alrighty, here we go. Div, here's what we're seeing. We're seeing very few people are spending more effort on marketing. They're doing the same or less, and some aren't doing any.
Great. Thank you, Sharon. So what we see here is over half of people are either doing no marketing towards existing clients or are doing significantly less than they're doing for new clients. And the data that you guys have just shared with me, number one, it's helpful for me in terms of what I'll talk about today. But number two, you are very consistent with what we see with any profession around the country. All sorts of professional services firms tend to focus much more heavily on marketing to new clients than on marketing to existing clients. New prospect marketing takes up anywhere between 50 to 75% of most marketing organizations' time. So that's very consistent, and in some cases that actually can make sense. If you are a new firm, obviously you don't have existing clients to market to, so your attention is going to go in the new direction. As you begin to evolve as a firm, though, what we want to talk about today is trying to achieve a balance there. And we'll talk about why that's important in the slides ahead here. So let's talk about the new clients part first. Acquiring new clients to grow my practice. Does that matter as well? Absolutely. New clients are certainly important, right? We need new clients to fuel growth. And from my perspective, at any organization where I've been doing marketing, I never treat it as an either or. No organization other than a brand new one should be focused completely on new clients or completely on existing clients. We have to balance those two, and we all have limited time and limited resources to be able to find the right balance there. So what we're trying to do here is not to say we're going to ignore new clients, and there's certainly a lot that I can recommend on that side as well, but we're talking about what specifically can we do that's going to have more of an effect in terms of existing clients. One of the reasons that we're focusing more on existing clients these days is that new prospects are becoming increasingly expensive. So let's say that you decide, well, the way that I'm going to try to go out there and get brand new clients, clients who don't know of me, clients who are not coming via referrals, I'm going to do some online advertising and marketing, and then I'm also going to do some local advertising and marketing, right? And those are going to be sort of the two prongs that I focus on. Well, online advertising, I've been doing online advertising since 2000. I'm a huge believer in it. I think there's still a lot of exciting growth territory out there. But one key element of it is that the cost of online advertising has increased dramatically. So that chart that you see in the middle there, specifically I picked search advertising here, search advertising on Google AdWords, and you could look at what's happened on Bing, and you could look at Facebook ads, and a lot of other places, and you would see a very similar chart in terms of what the cost of advertising has done over the past couple of years. And what we've seen is that this has really shot up over the past year and a half or so. This graph doesn't go into 2016, but you can see since the middle of 2014, we've seen a dramatic increase, and that has not abated. That has continued to happen. There is simply, there are more people who want good placements on online advertising than there are good places to advertise. So if you want to advertise on a junky website, the great news is it's never been cheaper and more cost effective to do so. Of course, you'll get cost effective but not effective in that case, right? So if we want to advertise in highly targeted areas with the right types of clients in front of us, the cost of doing business there has certainly gone up on that real estate. Now, the other option that many people look at is local advertising. And obviously that comes in a wide range of possible ways. And local advertising has not grown in cost in the same way, but it comes with a couple of other challenges. Number one, it can be difficult to measure impact if that local advertising is not digital. A lot of times you're not sure where someone actually heard about you. You hope that they'll be able to tell you, but in many cases prospects are not great at remembering where they actually heard of you, so it's difficult to attribute success or failure. And the other part is it can be difficult to differentiate your firm. If we think back a generation to Yellow Pages and all the other directories that existed in paper form, a select few professional firms would stand out on those pages by buying larger ads, by buying visual ads, buying half-page ads, and everyone else was just sort of listed together and lumped together. Well, Yellow Pages in that large paper form has gone away in most parts of the country. Still exists in some places, but it's for the most part gone away. But if you think about the other forms of local advertising that exist right now, they still have that same fundamental issue, which is that for the most part, you will get lumped in with other accounting firms in your area. And part of what you're trying to do is to reverse that, to differentiate yourself, and it can be difficult to do so. The other portion of this is that new prospects are tougher to convert to long-term profitable paying clients. Number one, they come in with more skepticism. They usually don't know as much about you or your services coming in. So they're starting at a much lower level of trust in your organization. Number two, generally speaking, new prospects come in with greater price sensitivity. They're much more likely to be concerned about how much is this going to cost than existing clients or referred clients. And related to that, they're often asking the wrong questions. If you start from a perspective of asking about price and what is this going to cost, as you can imagine, the conversation is not going to be about how do I create value for your small business, how do I help ensure your family's security in the future. We're getting off on different sorts of much more pointed questions that aren't necessarily conducive to the kind of relationship you want to have with your clients. Existing clients are 3 to 5 times more likely to sign up for additional services. So if we think about services that you might offer that are not widely used by your core customers, by your core clients, your ability to approach a new service and bring it to your audience is going to be obviously much better with your existing clients than with somebody coming in off the street. And so the upshot of all of these things put together is that the marketing return on investment for an existing client can be 5 to 7 times higher than that of a new client, right? So for every dollar that we spend, and we can also say for every hour that we spend thinking about and executing marketing, we're seeing a much greater return in terms of existing clients. So the bottom line here is not that new clients are bad or that we shouldn't be focusing on new clients. It's a
I think we lost Div here for a few seconds. He will be coming right back. Just bear with us, please.
Okay, sorry about that. I think I had a momentary lapse. I should mention we've been having storms over here and we're having some issues with internet connectivity. So if I do drop out like I just did, it'll only be a few seconds and I will come back as quickly as possible. So I apologize for any breaks that might happen there. So we agree that existing clients are important. So what are we going to do about that? How are we going to achieve the goals that we have in terms of marketing to our existing clients? We're going to talk today about 5 strategies that you can use. These are all strategies that any firm can use. They don't require a significant investment of money. These are things that you can do or at least begin to do over the course of the next 90 days and that can have an impact in terms of your relationships with your existing clients and how much value you and your existing clients are getting out of each other. So we're going to talk about developing or refining an onboarding communication plan. We're going to talk about making your offerings commodity-proof in the minds of your clients. We'll talk about crafting compelling case studies, creating a client-friendly website, and maximizing word-of-mouth referrals. And if we have a couple of minutes left at the end, I have one bonus item that I won't mention right now. We'll keep that secret that I'll also go over. So let's start with onboarding communications. So your firm probably already has an onboarding process for new clients, and it probably involves key items like transferring over files and data, signing engagement documents, and so on. And that's great. Not looking for you to do anything different in terms of those items. Those are operational and process-oriented and are critical to getting the work done. What I want to focus on is simply the aspect of client communication and marketing over the course of the first 90 days. So what happens after the handshake? What we want to communicate to the client is all of the following. We want to communicate it as explicitly and clearly as possible. Number one, a clear single point of contact for any questions that they may have over the course of 90 days. And this sounds so obvious. Well, of course they're going to know who to call, right? I gave them my phone number. Thinking back as a client, though, if they go to your website, is that going to be clear to them who to call? Is that the main number that they should be calling, or should they be calling a specific person? Right? Making it very clear to them in every communication exactly who they should go to with specific types of questions. Number two, map out a specific sequence of emails and or direct mail pieces that you're planning to send out over the course of the first 90 days. And this is going to vary significantly depending on what services you're offering to those clients. If you're offering bookkeeping versus offering audit services versus tax prep, payroll, whatever it might be. But the goal of the communications in the first 90 days, the primary goal is to continue to build the trust that they've made the right decision. So clients come in with a certain level of trust the minute of that initial handshake happening and them agreeing to be a client. But that level of trust right at that moment is not 100%, right? We know that to be the case. They're still feeling you out and getting a sense for how you're going to work and how well this is going to work. So every communication that you have over the first 90 days, whichever communications you currently have, go back over them, review them with an eye towards, are we building the amount of trust that the client has in us? Obviously, informing the client is a primary responsibility of those communications, right? We want to continue to inform. We also want to make sure that we're boosting the amount of trust that they have in us. Number three, provide the client with a written list of the deliverables and expectations that you have and that they should have for the first 3 months, right? If there are things that you're expecting them to do, files to be transferred, software, etc., make it explicitly clear to them exactly what your expectations for them are. And likewise, also make it clear what they can expect from you over the course of 90 days. Professional services firms in general, this is not just related to accounting, tend to suffer sometimes from the perception of overpromising initially. And clients go away with the feeling that they're going to get the sun and the moon and then become slightly disappointed over the course of the first 60, 90, 180 days that they're not getting as much as they thought. And a lot of times it's simply a misperception on their part of how much to expect. So let's make that really clear up front. And then the final point is to have a specific 90-day checkup call. And the point of that checkup call is to make sure that that trust has grown in the way that, that we want it to. And what we really want to do is to break what I call the illusion of silence. Most of us who sell to customers or clients, we are extremely busy people. And so if I don't hear from a customer, my assumption is things are going pretty well, right? That's not someone who I have to go ahead and follow up with right now. With a long-standing client relationship, that's probably a reasonable assumption to make. But in the first 90 days, it's a critical time where you want people to explain to you any issues or questions that they might have so that they can get resolved, rather than them just silently thinking, you know, this doesn't feel quite right. I don't quite understand what I should be expecting here, but I guess things are okay, right? I guess things are okay is not a recipe for a long-term successful client relationship. So we really want to embed that in a very specific way up front. A question that came in was any recommendations on what types of thank you for becoming a client you should offer after the handshake? Great question. So I think I've seen firms have a lot of success with having a very specific promotional item that they use, that they send out, and obviously you want to provide something of value, such as a nice pen or something that they can keep in their office. So I think that's one way that you can go. A trend that I've been seeing more and more of is a handwritten letter right at the beginning. And handwritten letters make a big impression on us these days because they're so rare. And so I think that can be a very simple, obviously no cost way of saying thank you for becoming the client. If you have any questions, please contact me at any time. I think that can go a long way as well. So I think the main thing I would say is whatever you decide to do, don't be cheap about it. Either get an item that is of some value and looks really great and represents your firm well, or do something that is personalized, such as a letter. All right. Next thing we're going to talk about, making your offerings commodity-proof in the minds of your clients. So let me explain what I mean by this. a while back I read a quote by Seth Godin. He's a marketing expert, has written a number of books, and this quote really stuck with me, and that's what got me thinking about this part. His quote was, "A commodity is a product or service that no one cared enough about to market." Right? Things don't become commodities because they don't provide value. Things become commodities because no one bothers to explain to the client that this is something of value and why it's valuable. And what that tells us is that your firm has to win on both perception and reality. Accountants do not tend to be people who flaunt themselves and flaunt their firms, right? If you're somebody who really likes putting yourself out there, there's a reasonable chance you opted out of accounting before you got to this point. But I do think it's important for accountants to recognize that simply being good enough at your job isn't good enough in the minds of your clients. You have to go above and beyond that and make sure that you're over-communicating as well as delivering. So what are some of the ways that we can market our way to becoming commodity-proof? Number one, I'd like you to map out any upsell opportunities between the various services you offer. So I saw a survey recently, I believe it was on CPA Practice Advisor, and the average accounting firm that weighed in on this survey said that they offer 5 to 7 separate services to their clients, whether that's bookkeeping or tax prep or audit work or financial advisory or strategic work, whatever it might be. So think about the range of services that you offer. The vast majority of you do not offer just one service to your clients. You offer a range of different services. And chances are most of your clients are not taking advantage of all of the services that you have to offer. And so what I'd like you to do is either on a piece of paper or on a PowerPoint slide or on a whiteboard, write down all of the various services that you offer and then draw links between services that complement each other really well. Right? Services that if a client is using one service, they should certainly be using this additional service from you as well. Right? Begin to map out those opportunities. Those are your opportunities to upsell. Those are your opportunities to get more ROI out of every single existing client that you currently have. Right? So, so I think that that's really important. Recognizing both in your mind and in the minds of all of your staff members, what are those key relationships? If someone is using service X, what are the other services that I have to make them aware of and show them the value that they're going to experience by having both those? Those may be obvious to you. Those are definitely not obvious to your clients. And even if you've communicated that to them once or twice before, I think thinking about it in terms of having a visual map of this and having that permanently placed and going back to it over and over again will really help you get more bang for your buck there. Number two, if you send out emails to your clients right now, and I'm guessing most of you do based on surveys I've done previously, I'd like you to create a nurturing email chain for clients who use certain services but don't use other services. So what is a nurturing email chain? Well, a nurturing email chain is just basically a pre-prescribed series of emails that you're going to send out one after another, maybe every 3 weeks, every month, whatever it might be. Here at Accountants World, our nurturing email chains tend to be about every 3 weeks apart. Some people do less frequently, some do more frequently. You can determine that for yourself. But the goal of these emails is to step-by-step inform your clients in a very personalized way about the benefits of additional services. Now, a key word there is personalized. So if somebody is already doing bookkeeping with you, or is already having you do their bookkeeping work for them, don't send them an email telling them how great your bookkeeping services are, right? We want to personalize based on the services that they are not currently taking advantage of from you. In terms of how to create a nurturing email chain, if you use any of the major email providers to send your emails, iContact, Constant Contact, MailChimp, most other email providers, creating a nurturing email chain is actually really simple. If you have a designer who creates the emails for you, or if you create them, or a staff member creates them, creating those and then loading those into those email provider systems is really pretty straightforward. There's good documentation. I know at least MailChimp and Constant Contact have really good documentation about how to create those sorts of automated nurturing email chains. So you create the various emails, you launch them, and every few weeks they simply go out on your behalf and they draw people to the services that they weren't aware of before. Next up, write and enforce consistent language that your firm will use to describe every offering. So if a client comes up to you and says, tell me a little bit about why I should work with you for advisory services, you probably have a response that you would provide to that, or bookkeeping services, or tax prep, or whatever it might be. My question would be, if you're not a sole proprietor, if you're not a one-person shop, would every other staff member describe those services in the same way that you would? The answer might surprise you there. You might think that they would. You'd think, I've trained them, they should be using the exact same nomenclature that I do. But so many times we take that for granted that any other staff member is going to talk about the products the same way that I do, and that often does not end up being the case. And so what we want to do is to raise the bar in how every single staff member, including yourself, talks about the offerings that you have. We want consistency across people, and we also want consistency across time. Right? If you describe a service that you offer today, we want you to describe it in a similar way 2 months from now, or 6 months from now, or a year from now to a different client. So writing and enforcing that sort of consistent language, I think, really helps to make sure that we're being consistent every single time. And then finally, we want to highlight cases of exceptional client service. So when you are told by a client that you offered exceptional service to them, or that one of your staff members offered exceptional service to them, you want to highlight that to other clients because it becomes reflective. When clients see that other clients have had an amazing experience, it makes them immediately lean in. It makes them think there must be something really good happening here. And again, if we're building up the amount of trust that we have, that I'm receiving a good job as well. I have an accountant who I've worked with for 14 or 15 years now. And as is probably true of most of your clients, I don't think about my accountant at any time unless he contacts me or it's tax or extension season. Right? That's when I think about my accountant. But if I receive a note every once in a while and it highlights the exceptional work in a client's words that my accountant has done, I'm going to take notice of that. And so I encourage you to make that a regular part of what you're doing in terms of making sure that you're not viewed as a commodity. There's a comment that came in from Gary who said if CPAs can't show clients the ROI of their services, it becomes a commodity. Absolutely agree. And I think the numbers go a long way here, being able to show a specific quantitative return on investment.
I think Div is resetting his internet connection again.
Yes, I am back.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Sharon. So I just wanted to highlight, Gary wrote in with a comment rather than a question and said, if CPAs can't show clients the ROI of their services, it's a commodity. Gary, I absolutely agree. I think you have to be able to demonstrate your ROI, and that means both quantitatively, but it also means anecdotally and qualitatively, and that's some of the things that we've talked about here as well. So I think both of those are really compelling case points to be able to show. A question from Michael, should we show the upsell opportunities map to our clients to show them where they are on the map and where they could go? Yeah, I think absolutely you can. I think the way that you'll draw it up on a whiteboard or on a piece of paper will probably in that form not be appropriate for clients. You'll want to dress it up in some way and make it clear how much more value they can get at every step along the way. You'll need to describe it more. But absolutely, I think you can share that externally with a little bit more context as well. Keep the questions coming. These are great. All right, so let's continue on here. Create compelling case studies. Okay, so the point of a case study is for one of your ideal clients, whether it's a current client or a prospective client, to look at that case study and come away saying they've done a great job for someone just like me, right? They've done a great job for someone who has the same needs, same anxieties and fears, same opportunities as I do. Right? We want that identification between the person who's being case studied and the person who's reading it there. So step one to this, and a step that so often people get wrong in writing case studies, You got to find the right candidate. Now, simply a client coming to you and saying, hey, listen, I've had a really good experience with you, right? That by itself is not necessarily proof that they're a great candidate. We want to see three things at least. Number one, we want a client who has accurate knowledge of what you offer, right? So if you capture what they write about you, XYZ Accounting has done such a great job for me because, I want to make sure the words that come after because are actually accurate, right? I don't want to be misleading future clients on the basis of what this one client is saying there. So we want to make sure that they accurately understand what we offer in terms of value. Number two, we want somebody who has seen exemplary results with our firm. Ideally, we want those exemplary results to be quantifiable, right? To be able to say a 25% improvement in this, a 20% drop in my fixed cost, whatever it might be. And your client may not initially think that way, but if you push them on that a little bit and say, could you quantify what that would really mean? A lot of times they'll be able to come up with a number that will be really valuable there. Number three, you want a candidate who communicates well, whether you're doing this via a verbal interview or having them write it down in email to you, whatever it might be. You want to make sure their communication skills are really strong. And a bonus, this isn't required, but a bonus is if this is a client who has switched to you from another firm. Now, why is that important? The reason is if I'm reading a case study and somebody says, I've had a really good experience with XYZ Accounting, that's great. I'm nodding along and I'm feeling pretty good about that. But if I read it and it says, I was previously with another accounting firm in the area, and it simply felt like I wasn't getting the level of service that I needed, I switched to XYZ Accounting and here's the impact that it's had on me. Now I'm very interested. Because as a prospective client or prospective for new services, that's what I'm looking for. I'm in the camp of I'm thinking about making a switch, right? So if you can find somebody who switched to you from another firm and can talk about how much better the experience has been, that is gold in terms of case studies. Next step, ask a candidate open-ended questions about their experience with your firm. Come up with a list of questions, and the list of questions is largely up to you what you want to really highlight. But the key here is the questions should not be answered with yes or no, right? They should be questions that get people to open up and give you real meaningful responses. Draft it into a written report first, get the candidate's approval, right? And we just want to make sure we didn't misrepresent anything on the case study. Next step, we want to identify the big lead. Think of this as the headline on the marquee to describe this case study. A case study's value, I would say about 50% of the value of a case study comes from that headline that you write at the top of it. And so it might be something quantifiable. Bakery saves 20% on fixed costs thanks to insights from PGC Accounting. Or it might be a specific quote that that client gave to you. PGC Accounting has transformed my small business, right? Those are the types of sentences that when you put them on the front of a case study, they're going to get noticed. When you put those as the subject line in an email or put it in your email newsletter as a client success story, those are going to get noticed and are going to get clicked on. So we want to make sure that after we've written the report, we now write the lead that goes along with that. You don't write the lead first, you write the report first, and then write the best lead that you possibly can coming out of that. Now you've got a case study in written form, right? Now we want to extend that case study to other media. Not everybody is going to read everything that you put out there in brochure form or in a report form that you mail to your clients. So we want to get it ready to put in email. We want to have it as a direct mail piece. We want to include a sample of it in our brochure and then maybe tell people to read the rest of this, go to our website and click on case studies. We might even want to do this as video. Yes, video. Video has now actually become a really good use or case studies are a really good use of video for many corporations. So if a client of yours says, I'm not sure I have time to do a full-fledged case study for you, what you can tell them is, would you be willing to just record yourself talking about how our firm has helped you? Just a 2-minute recording of how we've helped you, right? And that becomes its own mini case study that you can put on your website, embed within your emails, and do all the other things that you would do there. All right. Question came in from Peter. Can you give some examples of how to highlight exceptional service? I think the one place to do it is certainly in your emails. If you already have an email newsletter schedule, a lot of accountants send out monthly or bi-monthly email newsletters to their clients, which I think is a great idea. Almost every single newsletter should have some sort of success story, whether it's a quote, whether it's we provided service to this organization and things are going really well with it. Even if you can't name the organization, that's fine. But we would like to have something externally validating in every single newsletter that we do. Same thing for brochures. If you have a print brochure, and the majority of accountants still do have print brochures at this point, not all of them, but the majority do. If you have print brochures, they should include some external validation from a client saying that you provided exceptional service. So those are the first two places, and then we're going to talk about a couple of other places you can use that as well. All right, so let me go ahead and continue on. Next up, make your website client-friendly. So we want to use our website to interact with existing clients because that is just as critical as using it to attract new clients. We tend to think about websites as billboards. We tend to think about them as we want to use them as a way to attract people to us who don't know about us, get them minimally informed, and get them to pick up the phone and call me or email me, right? And that's obviously a primary use of a website. But we also want to provide real value to our clients as well. Not just a perception of value, but real value to our clients from our website. So some elements of a client-friendly website. Number one, access to secure client portals. So if you're not using client portals right now to securely share documents with your clients, we'll have a separate webinar where we'll talk about why you should be doing that, but your website should integrate directly with those client portals. Number two, tools for clients that they can actually use. Ability to check my tax refund, financial calculators, payroll calculators, etc. Number three, links to key external resources. Obviously, the IRS is a key one, your State Department of Revenue, tax, sales tax and excise tax bureaus, whatever else might be applicable. Also, it makes sense to provide links to things that can create opportunities for them. So if there are services that you know could help them in terms of getting organized in terms of finances or getting organized on projects or whatever else might be, hiring, etc., if there are solutions or websites that you really like, this is a great opportunity to provide additional value to your clients as well. Number four, details about additional services. Sounds obvious. Almost every accounting website has a Our Services page. Most of those are too generic. Most of the time when I look at Our Services page on accounting websites, they simply say, we provide a range of services and we keep our clients happy. Like that's basically what they're saying, right? Give me details. Give me the specific set of services and a brief description of each of them and the benefit I'll get from each of them, so that if I'm scanning that list as an existing client, I say, well, I'm already doing that and that and that, but I'm not actually using them for that. I should talk to them about that, right? We want to jog their memory about that. And then finally, contact information. Now, you must be thinking, what kind of dummy would not have their contact information on their website? I'm sure some of you are thinking right now, oh my gosh, we don't have contact information on our website. Well, a survey was done recently and found that 14% of websites did not have any contact information for their business on their website. And even some of the ones that do have it don't have it in a clear format. So go back and take a look at your website, make sure that that's as clean and easy to understand as possible. So a couple of examples here of client-friendly websites. And both of these were created using AccountantsWorld's website relief application. And we are, I think what makes website relief really compelling is that we're really focused around building websites that work for your existing clients as well as new prospects as well. And so I'll encourage you to go to our website and call our toll-free number to learn more about what website relief can do for you. But you'll see here a whole list of resources that are offered here in the purple boxes, as well as a very clear Contact Us page as well. Here's a company that offers a lot of payroll services, and they have a separate payroll center page that includes many key links that somebody might need, that an employer might need to be able to either see themselves or pass along to their employees as well. So what the firm is doing here is presenting themselves as a one-stop shop, not only for getting services taken care of, but also for any information that the client might need. And so as a client, I look at this and I say, not only am I getting my taxes done and getting access to a payroll processing solution and bookkeeping and whatever else, but I also know that they have my back in terms of having every single key resource that I may need at my fingertips. And that's going to make me much more of a sticky client. It's going to increase my retention and loyalty levels significantly because of that. Michael wrote in and said, client testimonials, you can send automated emails to clients after completing their annual tax return with a link to your Google review site. Great idea. I think because you, as an accountant, have a set time of year when clients are paying attention to you, right after you produce an outstanding deliverable for them at that time, that's an excellent time to mark on your calendar. Make sure you send out an automated email with a link to your Google review site. Also, if you're being reviewed on Google, that's fantastic. That helps you on Google search engine as well. Also try to get people to review you on Yelp as well. We tend to think of Yelp as being primarily for restaurants and bars and so on. There's a good chance that your accounting firm is already on there, even if you're not aware that you're listed on there. And Yelp results tend to show up in the top 5 of search engine results as well, so that's another good place to make sure that you're showing up. So thank you, Michael, for that excellent suggestions. Mick, thank you for the kind words. I understand. I really appreciate that. Okay, so let's continue on here at this point, and we'll go ahead and launch our second poll. So Sharon, if you could go ahead and launch our poll question, please.
All righty. The poll question is, how client-friendly is your firm's current website? Do you consider it to be very client-friendly, somewhat, not very friendly, not at all client-friendly, or we don't even have a current website? And just as a reminder, participation in the polls is required for CPE, and you must press submit to submit your answer. And our numbers are stabilizing here. Make sure everyone gets their votes in. All right, Div, I'm going to close out the poll here and I'll show the results.
Okay, great.
Yeah, as I say, somewhat's not bad.
So, yeah. So about 46% of you said your current website is somewhat client-friendly. So hopefully you've identified some opportunities to upgrade what you're offering to clients and the perceived value that you're offering to clients on there. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. So we see 46% said somewhat client-friendly, and so hopefully you've seen opportunities to expand on the value that you're providing to clients. 19% very client-friendly. That's terrific. And then 14% said not very or not at all client-friendly. So this is an opportunity now to be able to provide more value to your clients. For the 22% of you who don't currently have a website, fear not. Many accounting firms still don't have one at this point, especially smaller firms. What I will tell you is whether you select Website Relief or some of the other good solutions that are out there, this is the time to go ahead and make sure that you have a website. And if you're not sure what the value of it is going to be, you feel like you already have enough clients, whatever your excuse might be, this is the right time. And if you need any motivation for that, email me and I'll tell you why right now is the right time for you to go ahead and do that. All right, so let's go ahead and close that out. Thank you, Sharon. And we'll continue on here with word of mouth. So this may be a case where I'm saving the best for last. Word of mouth is critically important to your business. You know this already. You see this in terms of how you're getting business already. You see the value of referrals. I want to throw a couple of numbers by you here. Number one, the close rate on referral prospects is 50 to 200% higher than on other prospects who walk in off the street. Right? So a significantly higher close percentage. No surprise there. They're coming in with some expectation and with a referral of somebody they trust. Number two, and this one I think is really interesting, referred clients in professional services, including accounting, are 15 to 30% more likely to stay long-term. So not only are they more likely to be attracted in the short term and to come to you, they're more likely to stay in the long term, which means that their expectations have been set better to begin with. We want as many of these word of mouth referrals as we can possibly get. So let's talk about what we can do to make sure we get them. So we're going to walk through 4 or 5 steps here, five steps I think, really quickly here on how to generate effective word of mouth. Number 1, have and tell a founding story. So what's a founding story? Well, a founding story is when people recommend a company to someone else, they like to explain the background. They like to explain a little bit about the reason that the company was started or why they feel like this company is different or the personality of the main person in the company and so forth. You want to feel a personal connection. If you're talking to someone who you are personally connected to, right, and you're giving them a business referral, it makes sense that you would want to also include a personal connection there. So if you can have a story that people can relate to, you become much more likely to be recommended. So here's an example of an accountant. This happens to be my accountant actually, and what he wrote on his website. I won't share his name, but he's what you might call a financial renaissance man at the age of 25. You can read the rest of that there. But what he really wanted to do was help clients to, and now he gets a chance to tell his story here, right? And this has a really nice story arc here. It has a really good way of telling the story that I was coming from something else, but my passion was to do this, and that's why I'm where I am right now. Now, your story may be totally different. You may think right now, I don't have a story. I just sort of ended up in this. This just happened to be what I do, right? If you think about it carefully, there's a story in there, and it's important for you to share this with your clients. You might think, why would they ever want to hear this? And I guarantee you that the interest level in your story is going to be higher than you think it is. People always tend to underestimate how interesting their own story is. And by providing that story, not only are you building more of a connection with your existing client, but you're getting them to become more likely to refer you in a meaningful way to additional people in the future. So when should we tell that founding story? Well, one good time, obviously, is at your very first meeting with a new client, right? That's a good time to explain how you got to this point because it helps to set how you're different from other accounts. Number 2, on your website, and do this with photos. People say, I don't like the way I look. I don't want to include my photo on my website. Listen, I included my photo with this webinar. If I can include my photo, you can include your photo as well. Okay, so include photos. It's a great personal touch. And also, if you have staff members, include your staff members' photos on your website as well. Regardless of what level they're at, I always recommend that staff members are included. It makes them feel great, and it makes clients feel better as well. Number 3, include your founding story on printed materials, such as a flyer or a brochure as well. Second point here, use what's called the 3 business card system. And I stole this shamelessly from a company called Jetpack Workflow, and you can see the source there if you want to read more about this. So the 3 business card system, this is probably the easiest thing because you don't actually have to add anything. When you bring on a new client or every time you meet a client, instead of giving them 1 business card, give them 3 business cards. When you hand over 3 business cards, say something like, Janice, we really enjoy working with businesses just like yours. So instead of giving you a single card, I'm going to give you 3, and if you know anybody else who could use our types of services and is like your business, feel free to pass along my information, just like we did for you. We'll give them a no obligation consultation and see if our services match up well with them. Great way to get yourself out in front of people and make sure that you get referred at the right times. A couple more tips on generating effective word of mouth. Make referral requests a habit. Okay, so you as an accountant are great at process. You work around process every single day, every week, every month, every tax season. I want you to institutionalize a process around making referral requests. It doesn't matter to me how often you do it. It doesn't matter to me what times of year you do it. It doesn't matter what media you use to do it, whether it's email or phone or only in person. Do whatever works for you, but institutionalize that as a structured part of your processes there. When you're creating a request for a referral, make it as specific as possible. And what I mean by that is tell me exactly what kind of client you're looking for, right? A good client typically means that we match up in terms of strategy. It's a client who is responsive, and it's a client whose focus matches mine, whether it's industry or what services they're looking for, right? So make it clear to your existing clients what a great next client would look like. remind, remind, remind. So it's not okay to just tell your clients one time, hey, I'd love it if you give me referrals. That would be awesome. Put it in your email signatures. You see on the blue bar on the right-hand side an example that I really like of an email signature that includes referrals. Include it on the last page of any printed materials that you have, including things like bills, statements, etc. That's a perfectly fine place to include that, right? And there you can go into a little bit more detail as well. Give and you shall receive. So if you have clients who you would like to refer business to, right, make sure you do that as well. And the more you do that, obviously, the more they're going to refer business to you. And finally, always personally thank the referrer. And how you want to thank them is up to you, whether it's a handwritten note or whether it's a phone call or meeting them in person or whatever it is. Make sure you thank them every single time they provide you with a reference. So we're going to pull a poll number 3 in just a good minute here, but Sharon, if you could hold off on that for just a minute, I'm just going to take a quick look and see if we had any last questions that came in here. Michael wrote in and said, our engagement letter states that when the project is completed, we will ask you for 3 referrals. That's great. If that's the institutionalized process you want to use, go for it. And then there's another question from Linda, which I'll take offline for that. So, okay, let's go ahead and launch the third poll, Sharon.
Alrighty. So the retention marketing activity that I will emphasize the most in the next 90 days is, and pick the one that's going to be the most effective that you're going to implement, word of mouth referrals, a more client-friendly website, case studies, or something else.
Right, and what I would say here, just in terms of context, is what I'm looking for is out of the 3 main categories I talked about today, and obviously there are many others as well, what's the one that really stuck with you as this is an opportunity for me moving forward? I'd like to get a sense of that, and also I want you to sort of commit, by making your selection here, sort of commit to doing that over the next 90 days. And if you have any questions as you're going through the process, marketing@accountantsworld.com. My name is Div, and I'll be happy to assist you in any way I can.
Thanks, Div. It looks like the voting has stabilized. I'm going to close the final poll. Last chance. Here we go.
Okay, so overwhelmingly, word of mouth and referrals, which is fantastic. We love the ROI that comes in on word of mouth. 21% said a more client-friendly website. That is absolutely doable. The steps to do that are not super complicated, and so I definitely encourage you over the next 90 days to do that. And then case studies and other as well. That's great. So any other questions that people have, feel free to write in here. I'm going to give just one quick bonus tip here. We've got 2 minutes left, and I'm just going to say leverage LinkedIn. And you can read the rest of this yourself, but if you are not already on, a company profile on LinkedIn, do that. It will significantly improve your search results for your business and your business website. And it's a great way to get noticed. It's super simple to do. The average company profile takes less than 20 minutes to create. No, I do not get compensated by LinkedIn. I just think it is by far the most important social network for professional firms. You can add a list of your services and then start posting updates of key news or content. If you want sort of an organization that does a good job, I'm going to toot my own horn here and say AccountantsWorld does a really good job on LinkedIn. We've got 17,000 followers, and we produce a lot of interesting content out there and good links. And so linkedin.com/company/accountantsworld. Follow us, and you'll get a sense of kind of what you can do on your own page there as well. And finally, I want to thank you for joining us. I hope to see you at our next expert webinar on October 19th. Also, as soon as you close out of this webinar, one last important thing I want to say, as soon as you close out of this webinar, you're going to see a post-webinar survey. Filling that out is required in order to get CP. If you don't see the survey, don't worry about it. We'll email you a link as well. And one of the questions we're going to ask on there is if you would like Accountants World to assist you with getting a client-friendly website going, or a more client-friendly website. So if you'd like to learn more about how Website Relief can help you to achieve that, simply click yes, and we'll have a representative contact you shortly here. And we will even offer you an exclusive discount that you won't see on our website for the Website Relief product. So I want to thank you again for joining us today. I'll stick around for a few minutes if you've written in any questions here, so feel free to do that. Otherwise, thanks again for your time, and we'll look forward to seeing you in 4 weeks.